I was out there 3 days ago, just me, my camera, and the remote forest of Blackwood Pines. I set up my tent in a quiet clearing. It felt nice, peaceful. I thought I'd get some great shots of the deer when dusk fell. But then things changed. Around midnight I heard rustling nearby. I didn't think much of it. Maybe it was a raccoon. I hadn't seen another soul in days. Then I heard whispers. They jolted me awake. I scanned the trees, but nothing. Just shadows moving in the wind. I tried to tell myself it was nothing and went back to sleep. The second night was worse. I lay in my tent, my mind racing. The whispers returned, louder, mixed with laughter. It wasn't a happy sound. It felt wrong. I peeked outside, heart pounding. The shadows danced, but nothing was there. The feeling of being watched wrapped around me like a cool breeze. I wanted to crawl back under my sleeping bag. By the third night, exhaustion hit hard. I felt on edge. The whispers now sounded like a twisted song, and the laughter echoed in my head. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I stepped out of my tent, looking for answers. The moonlight cast strange shapes on the trees, ghostly and frightening. Then something moved behind me. I spun around, and there it was, a shadow just beyond the flashlight beam. It seemed to be watching me. Panic hit me like a punch. I stumbled back, and then it hit me. All those shots I took during the day. No deer. They were gone. My stomach twisted. Suddenly the woods felt hollow, empty. I saw shadows watching me, waiting. I wanted to run, get out of there, but I couldn't move. I was frozen. Then I heard a voice, clear as day. "Come play." It was childlike, soft, yet chilling. I felt the urge to flee. I turned and ran. The laughter followed me, rising in volume, consuming the night. Branches scratched at my arms as I sprinted. I didn't look back. I stumbled over roots, my heart racing, pounding in my ears. The shadows still watched, but I couldn't let them get me. Finally, I reached my car. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking. As I drove away, the laughter turned to whispers, fading behind me. I had to get back to the world where things made sense again. What happened in those woods? I don't know. But I can't stop thinking about it. I can still hear that voice, that laughter. It makes my skin crawl. Blackwood Pines was supposed to be peaceful, but now it holds a dark memory. I wonder if I'll ever return. Deep down, I know I probably won't. It's been days since I left Blackwood Pines, but I still can't shake the feeling of dread. I found it hard to concentrate, haunted by the whispers and that eerie voice. Everything felt wrong, and I needed answers. I decided to meet up with my friend Max, a local photographer who had spent plenty of time in the woods. If anyone could help me make sense of it, he could. We met at the small diner where the town folks gathered. The smell of coffee and eggs filled the air, but I couldn't touch my food. I spilled my experience to Max, watching his brow furrow as I spoke. When I got to the part about the shadows and the voice, his expression changed. It was like I had triggered something in him. "I've heard stories about Blackwood Pines," he said quietly, glancing around as if afraid someone could hear. "People have gone missing out there. Sometimes they come back, but they're never really the same." A chill ran down my spine. "What do you mean?" "There's an old tale about a group of kids who played too deep in the woods. They heard voices. Then one day, they didn't come home. Weeks later, they returned, but they'd lost something, a part of themselves. It's like they were never really gone, yet they didn't belong to this world anymore." His words clung to me like fog. "You think that's what I experienced?" Max nodded slowly. "You might have tapped into something sinister. People don't just disappear without a reason." I was staring into my coffee, trying to wrap my head around it. It felt like every shadow I passed now hid secrets, dark and terrible. "Do you think I should go back?" "Are you serious?" he shot back. "After everything you just told me? You can't. It's dangerous." But deep down I felt an unsettling pull. I had to know. Later that night I tossed and turned, the whispering voice echoing in my mind. At one point I thought I saw a figure at the foot of my bed. It was gone in an instant, but my heart raced. I felt tangled between fear and curiosity. By morning, I couldn't ignore it any longer. I packed my camera, a flashlight, and some supplies. I needed to go back, despite Max's warnings. As I drove toward Blackwood Pines, the daylight did little to calm my nerves. Each turn felt heavy, with an anxiety I couldn't shake. I arrived and parked my car, the forest looming before me like a predator waiting to pounce. The path into the woods looked the same. Trees stretched high, their branches weaving a complex tapestry above me. I stepped cautiously, heart drumming against my chest. With each click of my camera, I thought I could silence the anxiety, find the beauty I'd missed. But the deeper I went, the more the shadows curled around me, heavy and palpable. The air felt colder, sharper. That's when I saw it, a flash of movement just beyond the trees, a childlike figure, a glimpse of white against the dark bark. My breath caught. "Is someone there?" I called out, voice trembling. Silence. Then a laugh pierced through the air, sharp and familiar, a twisted echo of the sound from before. It wrapped around me, constricting. My heart sank. I turned to flee, but the ground felt unsteady beneath me. I stumbled, and as I glanced back, there it was again, the child figure, now closer. My instinct screamed that I needed to run, but something held me there in the shadows. "Play with us," it said, and my mind reeled with terror. I took off again, adrenaline surging. The laughter followed, teasing, echoing, growing louder and more chaotic. I needed to find an escape. Suddenly, the air went still, as quiet as a grave. And then everything went dark. I woke up disoriented. My head throbbed and the world around me was eerily quiet. Panic gripped me as I pushed myself off the ground. Where was I? I blinked against the dim light filtering through the trees. The laughter, the figure, it all felt like a nightmare. Yet there I was, back in the woods of Blackwood Pines. I felt the prick of panic creeping back in. I scrambled to my feet, but the moment I did, I heard a rustling nearby. "Hello?" My voice cracked as I called out. I braced myself, holding my breath, half expecting the child to emerge again. Each second felt weighted, thick with tension. Instead, an older man stepped into view. His gaze was wild, crusted with dirt and fear. "You shouldn't be here," he shouted, panic straining his voice. "They'll take you too." "Who? What do you mean?" I stammered, confusion clouding my mind. Was this another victim? He stepped closer, his hands trembling. "The shadows, they whisper to you. They want you. You can't listen." "What the hell are you talking about?" I shot back, the edge of fear mixing with anger. I didn't have time for riddles. I needed to understand what was happening. "The children, the ones who went missing, you heard them, didn't you?" He stepped back, glancing over his shoulder, eyes wide with terror. "They don't want to play. They want something worse." I looked around, anxiety pulsing through me. The trees seemed to close in, their twisted branches forming a barrier. "What do you know?" He shook his head. "I've been searching. Days turn to weeks. Trust me, you won't find what you're looking for. You'll only lose yourself." Then a soft giggle floated through the air. It was so sweet, so innocent, but the sound made my skin crawl. The man's expression shifted, fear doubling in his eyes. "Run!" he commanded, and in that moment he turned and dashed deeper into the woods. My instinct told me to follow, but something kept me rooted to the spot. I took a deep breath. I had to get out. But the laughter returned, this time accompanied by whispers, the voices swirling around me like a storm. "Come play with us." A shadow shifted on my left, and I whipped around. There it was, again, the childlike figure, much closer now, its features obscured, but that sing-song voice unmistakable. "Let's play," it said, stepping out from behind a tree. Fear coursed through me. "No!" I shouted, taking a step back. Then the ground started to tremble underfoot. Roots and vines wriggled like snakes, ensnaring my feet. I felt a rush of adrenaline. I had to run, now. I broke free, sprinting through the wild brambles, gasping as branches scraped against my skin. I stumbled over roots and loose stones, but I didn't stop. The laughter grew louder, a cacophony as if the very woods were alive with it. Just when I thought I had a chance to escape, the laughter shifted into shrill cries, and the shadows converged in my direction. I pushed harder, calling for help, but my voice was swallowed by the darkness. That's when I saw the opening, a break in the trees. Hope surged through me. My lungs burned, but I forced myself onward. And then, right before I reached the light, I heard the boy's voice again, closer than ever. "You can't leave." Everything went dark once more. I startled awake again, disoriented and gasping. My chest felt tight, like a wild animal was clawing its way out. The darkness pressed against me, thick as fog, and the scent of damp earth and decay wrapped around me like a shroud. I pushed myself up slowly, searching for some trace of where I was. The shadows swirled around me, mocking my fear. The whispers returned, echoing in my ears, soft but persistent. "Come play with us. Come play." The words sent shivers through me, prickling my skin. Was I still dreaming? Panic flared inside me. I turned in circles, trying to catch a glimpse of anything familiar, but the woods had transformed into a maze. Trees reached like dark fingers, grasping toward me. I couldn't stay here any longer. I needed a plan. Finding my footing, I began to move. My heart raced as I weaved through the trees, clutching at the bark to steady myself. Suddenly, I stumbled upon a clearing. Moonlight streamed down, illuminating what looked like an old campsite. Abandoned tents and a fire pit overrun by weeds. A chill swept over me. "There must be something useful here," I murmured to myself. I approached the closest tent. Its fabric was torn, faded by time and nature. But I peered inside. It was empty, save for a few rusted cans scattered on the ground. Then, drawing closer, I saw something else, a small notebook. I picked it up, my pulse quickening. Flipping it open, the pages were filled with frantic handwriting. "The voices are getting louder. Must find the children before it's too late." My breath caught in my throat. I scanned the notes, piecing together fragments of fears and warnings from whoever had been here before. The last entry was the most chilling of all. "They can't be saved. I'm next. If you hear them, run." I shut the notebook, dread pooling in my stomach, but before I could think further, a twig snapped behind me. I spun around just in time to see a shadow dart between the trees. My heart dropped. It felt as if someone, or something, was playing with me. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice thinner than I intended. Silence. I took a step back towards the tents, glancing nervously around. The shadows felt closer now, creeping in on the edges of my vision. Then a high-pitched giggle pierced the air, chilling me to the bone. "Come back!" it sang. I bolted again, racing back into the thicket. Whatever was out there was playing a deadly game. I had to figure out a way to outsmart it. I could hear the whispers growing furious behind me, urging me to stop, but I wouldn't give in. Suddenly, a clearing appeared ahead, but it felt different. This one was larger, almost inviting. Just as I reached the edge, I saw it, a faint silhouette of something crawling on all fours, illuminated by the pale moonlight. That's when I felt a grip on my ankle. It wasn't the ground. The shadows had come alive. I screamed, panic flooding my senses as the darkness yanked me down, and then everything went black again. It took ages for me to regain consciousness. I blinked against the harsh light of reality, the weight of something heavy pressing down on my chest. Panic surged again as I scrambled to sit up. The pain in my ankle flared, and I realized it was still gripped by something. Heart-pounding, I looked down. The shadows were gone, replaced now by the surrounding dark earth, but the sensation of being trapped remained. I felt a rush of relief, but it quickly faded as I scrambled to find my bearings. Where was I? The clearing I'd seen before was gone, replaced by a dense wall of trees. I needed to escape. Gripping the ground, I pulled myself up, wincing at the sharp pain in my ankle. The silence around me felt oppressive. Then that giggle returned, ringing out like a taunt. I held my breath, scanning the periphery. "Just go away," I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. But the laughter only grew louder, echoing off the trees, wrapping around me. I felt something cold inching closer, a breath on my neck. My instincts screamed at me to move, to run, and I did. Every step sent knives of pain shooting through my ankle, but I pressed on. The whispers were relentless, swirling in my mind. "They're coming for you! They're coming!" I fought to block them out, focusing only on finding a way out of this nightmare. Then I stumbled into another clearing. This one was large, but it held an unsettling stillness. In the center stood a tree, gnarled and twisted. My heart sank as I caught sight of something hanging from its branches. Doll heads, dozens of them, staring at me with lifeless eyes. I instinctively took a step back. What is this place? I breathed under my breath. As I turned to leave, I realized my path was blocked. Something shifted in the shadows to my right. There was no way forward. The giggling crescendoed, filling the air with a sense of dread. I felt rooted to the spot. I was being watched. Panic surged again, and I turned to confront the source of the laughter, but nothing was there, just the emptiness, thick and heavy. Then a voice broke through. It was soft, childlike. "Will you play with us?" I recognized that voice. It was one of the whispers I'd heard. My heart raced as I glanced around, trying to pinpoint where it was coming from. "Get away from me!" I screamed, but my voice faded into the shadows. The tree loomed behind me, almost impossibly large. I could feel the pull, the call of something otherworldly. The air grew colder, suffocating. Suddenly I saw it, a figure slipping through the trees. It wasn't human. My breath caught as it turned, and the moonlight caught its features, hollow eyes, a twisted smile. It beckoned to me. I began to retreat, but stumbled over a root and fell hard onto the ground, pain exploding in my ankle. The figure lingered at the edge of the trees, its smile widening. I crawled backward, fear ripping through me. Just when I thought I couldn't push myself any further, I saw a glimmer of movement behind the figure. Another silhouette, smaller, appeared, this one more familiar. "Help!" I shouted, feeling a strange mix of hope and dread. But as quickly as it had come, the moment vanished, leaving only the dark. The figure was closing in and I was trapped. That's when I realized I hadn't just stumbled into the woods. I had awakened something that wanted me to stay. The figure stepped forward, and I could almost see it better in the dim light. Its hollow eyes seemed to shimmer, an endless void filled with malice. Just as I was about to scream again, the ground under me shifted. My ankle throbbed loudly, a reminder that I was still in a desperate situation. Desperation clawed at my throat. I needed to find a way out. I hobbled backward, heart racing, keeping my eyes glued to the figure. The laughter echoed in my head, a chorus of tittering voices joining in. "Play with us!" they chanted, growing louder with every moment spent in their twisted realm. Clutching my ankle with one hand, I searched for any escape route. A path opened to my left, a shadow-covered corridor between the trees that felt like my only hope. I took a deep breath and propelled myself towards it despite the agony. Just when I thought I might make it, the whispers transformed, deepening into a low growl. "What do you want?" I shouted into the darkness, rage mixing with fear. The figure halted, its smile twisting unnaturally, stretching longer than any human face should. It pointed to the doll heads hanging from the tree. My stomach turned. "Will you be one of us?" it whispered. I froze, realization washing over me like ice water. The doll heads, they were remnants perhaps of others who hadn't escaped. "No!" I screamed, more determined this time. "I refuse!" But in that instant, the figure lunged. I barely managed to dodge, stumbling into the corridor. The branches scraped my arms as I pushed through. The whispers transformed into frantic shouts, echoing around me. "Come back! Come back!" I knew I couldn't stop. I plunged deeper into the trees, moving as fast as I could. Each step felt like I was pulling weights, my ankle threatening to give out, but I kept pushing forward. Behind me, the laughter grew fainter, replaced by rustling in the underbrush. Then I saw a sliver of moonlight ahead. It beckoned like a beacon of hope. My breath caught in my throat, and with renewed vigor I sprinted toward it. But as I neared the light, a chilling realization struck me. There was no guarantee it led to safety. It could just as easily lead to more shadows. Suddenly, the darkness thickened around me, closing in. I turned back, and to my horror, the figure emerged from the shadows, flanked by more shapes, more hollow eyes set in grinning faces. It wasn't just after me. It had friends. "No!" I screamed, instinctively swerving to the side. I stumbled into thicker foliage, branches whipping against my skin. I was running blind, panic driving me forward. That's when I heard it. A voice from the darkness, familiar, sweet but tainted. "Don't be scared. We're all here to play," it sang, echoing eerily. The small silhouette I had seen earlier resurfaced in my mind. This voice, who was it? Then everything went dark. I collided with something solid, falling hard to the ground. My vision blurred, but I managed to glance around. Figures appeared as shadows, converging, smirking, whispering. "Play with us," they all chanted in unison. I scrambled back, desperate to put distance between myself and the chanting creatures closing in. My heart raced as my hand brushed against something cold and metallic on the ground. I grabbed it and felt the familiar weight of a broken flashlight. I flicked the switch, but nothing happened. Panic rose in my chest again. I was blind in the dark, surrounded by malice. The shadows began to close in tighter, their twisted faces just inches away now, their hollow eyes glinting in the darkness. "Play with us! Play with us!" they cried, voices high-pitched and joyful, but the glee was absolutely sinister. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. I couldn't let them win. Thinking fast, I lifted the flashlight and swung it towards the dark shapes. "Get away from me!" I shouted, my voice cracking under the strain. The figures paused, confusion flickering across their faces as I waved the flashlight wildly. The darkness seemed to bend away from the light, albeit slightly. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the rustle of leaves. Then I caught a glimpse of something behind the monstrous forms. A way out. A narrow, twisted path diverged from the clearing, a fading hint of moonlight flickering at the end. Though my ankle throbbed with agony, I had no choice. "Wait, play with us!" The tallest figure, still eerily smiling, extended a hand toward me, its fingers elongated, turning into claws. I couldn't even process what I was feeling. Fear, disgust, anger, all swirling within me. Before I could think too much, I darted toward the path, pushing through the dense underbrush. The figures followed, their laughter turning into a cacophony of delight, chasing me as I ran. I could feel their presence behind me, some instinct urging me to move faster. With each step, I imagined the doll heads from the trees, remnants of lives snuffed out. I wouldn't let that be my fate. I raced down the narrow path, hoping it led to freedom. Moonlight flickered sporadically through the branches above, illuminating patches of ground that felt like a lifeline. I stumbled through brambles and over roots, my ankle protesting with every movement. But just as hope sparked within me, I burst into a small clearing. The air felt cooler here, but a sense of relief was fleeting. Just ahead lay a rickety old shed, its door hanging off its hinges. This was my chance. I dashed toward it, adrenaline fueling my desperate sprint. I reached the door, pushed it open, and hurried inside. The wooden planks creaked beneath my weight, but I didn't care. I was in, and the darkness outside became muffled. Panting heavily, I backed away from the entrance to catch my breath, heart racing. I pressed against the wall, trying to quiet my mind. That's when I remembered something. There had been a symbol carved into the doorframe outside. I glanced back, the shed just dim enough to hide its details. Though I feared the creatures might follow, I had to see. I moved toward the door but stopped short. A shape loomed just outside the entrance. My breath caught in my throat. It was the figure, grinning wide, framed by the moonlight. "You can't hide. We're all waiting for you." My heart dropped. I was trapped. I pressed my back against the shed's wall, attempting to calm my racing heart. The figure loomed outside, its grin stretching impossibly wide. Panic thrummed in my veins as I weighed my options. The creatures were still out there, drawn to me like moths to a flame. I needed a plan. My eyes darted around the shed, trying to find anything that could help. There was a musty old toolbox against the back wall. I crept toward it, unsure if I was making noise or if the figure could hear my breathing. I flung it open, revealing rusted tools, but one item caught my eye, a small, sharp saw. It felt heavy in my hand, a fragile weapon against whatever horrors awaited me outside. Come out, the figure called. "You can't stay in there forever." Its voice was deceptively sweet, like a taunting lullaby. Suddenly the shed creaked again, but this time the sound wasn't coming from the door. I turned just in time to see something shifting in the shadows at the far end of the building. My breath hitched. There was someone, or something, inside with me. Heart pounding, I edged back toward the door, the saw clutched tightly in my grip. Was it another creature, or a lost soul like me? I couldn't risk it. The only thing that mattered was escape. "Please, help," I called softly, desperately hoping for a friendly voice. Silence greeted me. I strained my ears, everything else drowned out by the haunting whispers of the creatures outside. The shadows in the corner seemed to consolidate, and with a surge of courage I whispered, "Who's there?" My voice trembled, raw and fear-laden. A figure stepped into the faint light, but it was not a comforting sight. It was a child, with hollow eyes and a grin that mimicked the creatures outside. "They want you to play too," the child said with a sing-song lilt. "You'll have so much fun." My stomach twisted. This wasn't a lost child. This was another victim, transformed by whatever dark magic lurked in these woods. I clutched the saw, unsure of what I might need it for. The figure outside crashed against the door, rattling the shed violently. "We can't wait forever," it taunted, claws scraping against the wood. I had to act quickly. I backed away from the door, heart pounding. The child stepped closer, their smile widening as if they could sense my tension. "You should join us. It's fun, I promise." I couldn't stay here. I had to find a way out, even if the path I had taken led me directly to the monsters. That's when I noticed the small window above behind the child. It was dirty and cracked, but large enough to crawl through. "Get away from me!" I shouted, gathering my resolve. The child's smile faltered for a moment, confusion crossing their face as I lunged toward the window. I could see the figures outside, moving away from the door, perhaps sensing my desperation. Just as I scrambled toward the window, the figure at the door broke in, howling with glee. I thrust the saw toward the window frame, shattering the remaining glass. With a deep breath, I climbed through. The sharp edges barely grazed my skin, and I felt the cold night air hit my face. But as I dropped to the ground, I realized I wasn't free yet. The laughter echoed behind me, louder and more menacing than before. I glanced back one last time, the child's gaze burning through the darkness. "You can't escape. We'll find you." I turned and ran, limbs aching, breath hitching in my throat. My heart raced as I fled deeper into the woods, knowing I was still being hunted. Branches clawed at my arms as I ran, their sharp edges tearing at my skin. I didn't bother to look back. I could still hear the laughter echoing behind me, each cackle a reminder that the monsters were relentless. I pushed forward, adrenaline masking the pain as I stumbled through the underbrush. The moonlight struggled to break through the canopy above, casting strange shadows all around. Every rustle in the leaves sent my heart racing. Were they following me? I had no way of knowing. All I could do was keep moving. Then I spotted something ahead, a faint glow flickering through the trees. It was small, almost like a candle, and it drew me in. Hope surged within me. Maybe it was a sign of help, a way to escape this nightmare. I forced my legs to go faster, praying I wasn't just lured deeper into danger. As I neared the light, I could make out an old, ramshackle cabin. The door swung slightly ajar, and the flickering light came from inside. My instincts screamed for caution, but desperation pushed me forward. I approached the door, the old wood creaking ominously under my touch. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaking. Silence greeted me. I hesitated, heart pounding. Should I go in? What if it was another trap? But I knew there was little choice. The monsters were behind me, and the risk of staying exposed was far greater than the one that lay inside. I stepped over the threshold, the interior dimly lit and cluttered with various objects, a mix of rustic furniture and scattered trinkets. The source of the light was an oil lamp sitting on a battered table, its flame flickering erratically. I scanned the room, eyes falling on an old photograph on the wall. It depicted a group of hunters, their faces smiling brightly, a stark contrast to the fear clawing at my insides. Suddenly, a sound made me jump. A creak came from the back of the cabin. Someone or something was there. My heart raced again, and I gripped the saw tightly. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice steadier than I felt. No response came, but the sound of shuffling was unmistakable now. I edged deeper into the cabin, eyeing the shadows at the back. Every instinct told me I should leave, but I couldn't run without knowing if I was truly alone. Then I saw it, or rather, them. A figure slumped against the wall, partially hidden in darkness. It was another child, no older than 10, with eyes wide in fear and dirt smudged across their face. "Help!" they whimpered, voice barely audible. Before I could react, a wave of shadows spilled from every corner of the cabin, moving with a life of their own. They twisted and turned, claws reaching for me. "You shouldn't have come here," a voice hissed, sending ice through my veins. I turned to run, but the exit seemed to fade as the shadows closed in. I realized with horror that my sanctuary was about to become a snare. Panic surged, and in that moment I understood. This place was a trap, just like the woods outside. Then everything went dark. I woke in a haze, disoriented and half-buried among the remnants of the cabin floor. The shadows swirled at the periphery of my vision. I was still trapped, but now I could feel a strange, ghostly presence enveloping me. "Help us," came the soft plea, multiple voices rising and blending into a low hum. The child's voice echoed in my mind, reminding me of everything I feared. I sat up, but the movement sent throbbing pain through my ankle again. I flinched and pressed against the wall for support. The room felt alive, heavy with despair. The shadows coiled around me, momentarily halting, as if gauging my reaction. I could sense them growing restless, eager for my surrender. "Join us," they urged in that same siren-like tone. "Play with us forever." My heart raced. There were too many voices, too many memories woven into this place, the lost, the forgotten. The fear clawed at me, but I couldn't let them take me. "What do you want?" I shouted, summoning every ounce of defiance I had left. A chilling silence followed, broken only by the faint flutter of the oil lamp. Then something shifted behind me. A grotesque silhouette emerged from the shadows, features twisted and maligned into a grin. "We want you to be one of us," it echoed, a cacophony of childish laughter joining in. "No!" I cried out, clutching the sharp saw tighter, my knuckles white. "You can't have me!" I needed to escape. I took a step back, inching toward the doorway, but the air thickened with shadows like a fog, making it hard to breathe. They moved closer, tormenting whispers rushing into my ears. "You're ours now, you can't escape!" I felt trapped in a nightmare my mind had conjured, but I wouldn't give in. Not yet. In a frantic moment of clarity, I turned to the oil lamp. I needed a weapon, something I could use to fight them off. I grabbed a handful of empty glass bottles piled haphazardly on the table and hurled them against the far wall. The noise shattered the suffocating atmosphere, echoing loudly as the glass shattered. The figures flinched for just a moment, hesitating. I seized the chance. The shadows shrieked in outrage, and their fragile hold began to falter. I bolted toward the door as the laughter transformed into furious wails. Light poured in from the opening, illuminating the path to my freedom. "Run!" I shouted at myself, pushing past the threshold. The air outside felt colder, starker, but I could breathe again. Instinct propelled me forward, and I sprinted into the forest, branches whipping against my arms and face. The shadows snarled behind me, laden with anger. The forest felt impossibly vast, and yet somehow familiar. I followed the instinct to run, to get away from the sirens that pursued me. I dodged and weaved through the trees, then stumbled onto the path I had originally taken. My point of entry back into this other world. "Keep going," I urged myself, but just as I took a few steps down the familiar path, it twisted impossibly, narrowing. Anticipation tinged with dread coursed through me. I was still being chased. A gust of wind kicked up, and I could hear them behind me, those childlike whispers mixing with shrieks of rage. "You're not getting away!" they sang. "We'll find you!" I pressed on, limbs protesting, breath coming in ragged bursts. The end of this nightmare was in sight, the faintest light shimmering through the trees ahead, the edge of the forest. But then I tripped, sprawling onto the cold ground. My ankle screamed and I cursed, pulling myself up slowly. I couldn't lose focus now. Clenching my teeth, I pushed myself up, using the trees for support. "Don't look back! Don't look back!" I told myself, my brain racing with the fear of what awaited me. I hurled myself towards the light, praying it wasn't just another illusion. Just as I stumbled closer, I heard laughter again, its chilling melody freezing my blood. I broke through the last cluster of trees and burst into the clearing. My eyes went wide as I stumbled into a shimmering bright light. It felt warm, almost inviting, unlike any other light I'd seen in those woods. But before I could assess my surroundings or breathe a sigh of relief, I heard the voices rising one last time, behind me, swirling and crashing against the edges of my sanity. "You belong to us," they called out, their solidarity growing with a haunting crescendo. "Leave me alone," I shouted, urging my body to move. Without truly thinking, I dashed into the light. The moment I leaped, I was engulfed in its warmth. I had no idea what it was, the boundary between worlds perhaps, or a refuge, but I had to trust it was better than what waited behind. As I crossed the threshold, something wrapped around my ankle, tugging me back. I felt vertigo, darkness swirling around me. Just as I thought the shadows would win, I remembered the faces of those I held dear, the fear on their faces if I were taken. In the final moment, I kicked away whatever was grabbing me and burst forward into the light. There was a searing flash, and then nothing. I woke lying on the grass, sunlight filtering through the trees above me. My heart raced as I blinked against the brightness. The forest was quiet, devoid of laughter and whispers, but my surroundings felt unnaturally still. I sprang upright, breathless, suddenly aware that I was alone. Had I escaped, or had I merely woken up from a nightmare? I glanced around, but there were no shadows, no figures lurking behind trees, just the hum of life emerging from the branches. But whispers echo in my mind. They would never entirely go away. I might be free, but what lurked in Blackwood Pines would always haunt me, hiding in the recesses of my memory. The questions remain. Was it real? Were any of them real? Did anyone else ever escape? I walked away, leaving the forest behind but taking its chill with me. I had survived, but I knew I could never go back. With each step a lump formed in my throat, and I reminded myself sometimes running is the only way to silence the whispers.